Hey guys, welcome back to the channel where we discuss key legal cases in Singapore and their implications. Today we'll explore an important case recently decided by the Singapore Court of Appeal, Wing Crown Investment and Lee Jialin. This case delves into contract law, particularly around deposits, penalties and liquidated damages. It raises critical questions about when a deposit can be forfeited and to what extent. The facts of this case takes us back to 2015, when the claimants, a father and daughter pair, entered into a contract to purchase a $1.9 million condominium unit from Wing Crown Investment. They paid a $1.2 million deposit that was almost 63% of the purchase price. However, due to defaults in payment, Wing Crown Investment terminated the agreement and initially had the entire sum forfeited and refused to return the deposit to them. Nearly 5 years after the aborted transaction, it was only under the threat of legal action that Wing Crown reduced the forfeited sum to $380,000 and kept another $326,000 to offset the expenses incurred as a result of the aborted deal and returned the balance of $488,000 to the pair. The claimants contested this, arguing that such a large forfeiture was an unreasonable penalty and not enforceable under the law. The central issue here was whether Wing Crown was entitled to forfeit the entire deposit. The claimants argued that forfeiting such a significant portion of the purchase price was excessive and constituted an unenforceable penalty. They relied on a test known as the true deposit test developed in Singapore case law, which requires that the forfeited deposit must be reasonable and act as earnest money in order for it to be enforceable. Wing Crown argued that the contract gave it discretion to forfeit a portion of the deposit and that they were justified in withholding around 20% as a fair sum for the purchaser's breach. In 2023, a High Court judge ruled that the developer was entitled to a forfeited sum of $380,000, which was 20% of the purchase price. The claimants were unhappy that they did not get the full $1.2 million back, and they appealed. 2 days ago, on the 6th of November 2024, the Court of Appeal, after reviewing the facts and arguments, disagreed with the lower court's decision to allow a partial forfeiture of the deposit. The judges of the Court of Appeal stated that the reasonableness of a deposit should be assessed at the time of contract formation, not when the forfeiture occurs. This is crucial because a deposit deemed excessive at the start cannot later be justified by forfeiting only a portion of it. Moreover, the Court of Appeal affirmed that for a deposit to be enforceable, it must act as genuine earnest money, a concept rooted in contract law history. In contrast, Wing Crown's actions suggested a penalty intended to deter breach rather than to provide fair compensation. As a result, the Court of Appeal ruled that Wing Crown's attempt to retain the excessive deposit amount was invalid and ordered a refund to the claimants. But the Court of Appeal ruled that Wing Crown was entitled to retain $357,000, which had been paid as an option fee under a separate contract. The decision meant that the claimants would get back $743,000 in total, after accounting for other payments. Wing Crown was also ordered to pay legal costs of $60,000 to the pair. This decision has significant implications for contract law in Singapore. The Court of Appeal clarified that deposits must be reasonable and closely aligned with the legitimate interests of a contract. Here are some key takeaways. Number one, contracts must specify reasonable deposits. For both buyers and sellers, this ruling underscores the importance of ensuring that the deposit amounts are reasonable. The decision reflects the court's intent to prevent excessive forfeiture practices that penalizes parties beyond what is fair. Number two, assessment of reasonableness. The judgment reinforced the idea that a deposit should serve as an earnest or assurance of performance. If a deposit is excessively high, it could be considered a penalty, making it unenforceable. This places an onus on developers and property sellers to set deposits that align with industry standards. Third, a clear stance against discretionary forfeiture clauses. Wing Crown's attempt to justify a reduced forfeiture after the fact was rejected, with the court ruling that discretionary forfeiture clauses allowing post-breach adjustments do not serve the original purpose of a deposit. This ruling discourages any contractual clauses granting vendors the unilateral decision to decide on forfeiture amounts. Given that property sales often involve high-value deposits, this ruling is particularly relevant in Singapore's real estate market. Buyers should be aware of their rights concerning deposits, especially when these are substantial percentages of the purchase price. In summary, this case reiterates that deposit forfeiture in Singapore must be fair and aligned with the initial contract's terms. For buyers and sellers alike, this is a call to structure contracts with transparent and reasonable deposit clauses. As this case demonstrates, the courts in Singapore remain vigilant against forfeiture practices that act more as penalties than earnest money. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.